Welcome to Swindon Fire Station. Let me go inside and have a look around. It's a 5 bays. First vehicle we come to, 51 Alpha 1, otherwise known as the HP or hydraulic platform. Now this vehicle doesn't carry any water, it carries very little equipment. What it does have is this hydraulic ladder all the way across the top. It will reach up 30 metres. Next to that, we have the OSU, or Operational Support Unit. Inside this vehicle, we have a number of items for salvage operations, such as plastic sheeting, wood, tools, a portaloo, and various other items that we might need at an incident. What's different about this vehicle particularly, again, no water. On the back, a forklift truck. The next two vehicles are essentially the same. We have two fire engines. This one, 51 Papa 2, is a vehicle primarily used by the retained part-time firefighters who respond to the station using an alerter and are called in when required. This appliance, 51 Papa 1, is primarily used by the whole time. We'll move through into the office. This is the watch room. This is where most of the admin work gets done. Various information on the walls, various things we need to know. Moving through the watch room, the first stairwell, photographs of the years that this station has been open. As you can see, this station was opened in October 1959. And as we move through the fire station on the ground floor, we go forwards into an area known as fire safety. Now the buildings you will go into, such as cinemas, shopping centres, hotels, all have to conform to certain laws. Those laws exist to keep you safe. Those laws govern where the fire doors are, what they're made of, where the extinguishers need to be, smoke alarms, emergency lighting, and it's in this office that all that legal stuff gets taken care of, and the fire service do their bit to keep you safe wherever you are. Moving out of fire safety, we're into another stairwell. We'll whiz up these stairs and we'll head up to the top floor and show you what's upstairs at Swindon Fire Station. Swindon Fire Station, upstairs, top floor, Swindon Fire Station mess room where we eat, the kitchen where we cook our meals. Back into the corridor, station manager and group manager's office. Moving down the corridor, another door into where we eat, and our lecture room. This is where the class-based training takes place. This is where we might take part in first aid training, we might watch PowerPoint presentations, we might see clips off YouTube or other such sites. Great deal of training goes on in here. Last room on the top floor. As you know, firefighters must be fit, must be healthy. We have a gym that we use to make sure we are in good physical condition. Coming back down the stairs, more photographs on the wall of things we've done, incidents we've been to, fundraising events, commendations, letters from the Home Office, letters from the Chief, and back to the front door. Swindon Fire Station.
Hi everyone, welcome to Swindon Fire Station. We're going to give you a virtual tour of the fire engine and just talk through some of the bits and pieces that we use on a daily basis. So, the first compartment to look at then is the driver's cab. This is where the driver sits and is responsible for getting us safely to the incident. Moving back, this is the crew cab, and here we've got firefighter Rob, who's safely dismounting the vehicle, dressed in his full personal protective equipment. We'll just talk very briefly about Rob's personal protective equipment. So, as we can see, Rob's wearing his safety boots, his fireproof trousers, fireproof tunic, wearing full breathing apparatus set, which includes the flash hood, his safety helmet, and gloves. The breathing apparatus set is designed to provide Rob with breathable air in a fire environment, because as we all know, we can't breathe smoke in, it's very bad for us. So the face mask that Rob's wearing here, he'll put over his face, and that allows him to breathe clean air for the entire time that he's in a fire environment. So a fire engine is essentially a huge toolbox on wheels. And inside each of the lockers, there's a variety of tools that allow us to deal with a whole different number of incidents that we go to. So we'll just talk very briefly about each locker in turn. In this locker, we can see there's a fan and a different pumping system, which allows us to draw water from a remote source, like a stream or a swimming pool, which is isolated away from the fire. A whole selection of tools here that allow us to do lots and lots of different things. Most notably the firefighter's axe and sledgehammer. Again here, simple things like beaters for dealing with wildfires, breaking in equipment, all sorts of equipment that allow us to, as I say, to deal with incidents. Grain forks, shovels and spades. And then ladders and brushes and all sorts of handles and stuff. It's always good to clean up after an incident, especially when we're dealing with incidents on the roads where there's lots of broken glass. It's always good to clean that up. Whilst we've got a fire engine, we also do carry just portable fire extinguishers. So if it's only a small fire and it doesn't require all the water that we carry in the fire engine, then we've got a small fire extinguisher so that we can deal with a much smaller fire. Again, moving back around the truck then, just lots more tools in here. We've got bags that we can deal with particular incidents. So we've got a water rescue bag here. If we're working near water, the firefighters can wear a safety vest. We've got working at height equipment in the blue bag there, which is lots of ropes and lines, which basically allow us to go climbing if we go to an incident where somebody's in trouble at height. So finishing off in the centre locker then is the lighting equipment for when we attend incidents at night time or in the dark environments. Moving to the rear locker, lots of what we call lay flats hose there. This is the biggest hose that we carry on the fire engine. This is 70mm hose. We have a basic principle in the fire service that the bigger the fire, the bigger the amount of water we like to use. And this allows us to get a high volume of water to the scene of a fire. It's very heavy and very cumbersome when it's full of water. So we lay the hose out without water in it, and then what we call charging the hose, which basically means filling the hose with water. Above that is stored our normal daily use hose reel. So for normal fires, house fires and smaller fires, even vehicle fires, we would use this hose reel. This is much easier to use and carry around and maneuver, allowing the firefighters a greater flexibility of movement when dealing with fires and not so onerous on them. Underneath that is a very old traditional firefighting method, which is what they call a stirrup pump. So this dates back to probably when my granddad was working with the fire service, and this is what we use on chimney fires. So some of the equipment we carry is very new, modern and up to date, but other equipment is really very old, but still very effective at what we do. On the top of the fire engine, lots of ladders. So we go to incidents where we have to get to high places. So different variety of ladders. On the left, there's a ladder that goes to 10.5 meters. In the center, a much larger ladder that goes to 13.5 meters. And then on the right is a roof ladder, so we have to deal with incidents on roofs or chimneys and stuff, that we've got access to that as well. Again, a variety of options available to us. This is the pump bay then, so this is the driver's responsibility. So the driver gets us safely to the incident. They are then responsible for pumping water. As we talked about, the fire engine being a large toolbox, it also carries about 1,800 litres of water in the centre of it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but given that firefighting is now very much more scientific, with the equipment that we've got nowadays, we don't really need a huge amount of water to deal with most incidents. We can draw water from a source, from our normal main system, and that's what this equipment on the right here, this is a standpipe key and bar. This allows us to tap into the normal water supply system that you drink in your home and draw water from that to refill the fire engine. Lots of pumps and gauges and handles and bits and pieces in the back here. We're not going to go into a huge amount of detail with those, but suffice it to say that this is where we connect all of that lay flat hose, and this is where we deliver our water and get the water to the scene of the incident. This is our breathing apparatus board. One of the firefighters is tasked with running this board. So when you saw firefighter Rob in his full firefighting equipment, when they go into a building, in order for us to know where they are and how long they can remain in that building, because they've only got so much air on their backs, this board here is very clever, and it links with the breathing apparatus equipment that they wear, and this tells us how long they can stay in the building. Obviously, this is all about safety. Everything we do is about safety. So this board here tells us when we should be calling them out. Moving around the fire engine then. Another hose reel. So sometimes we'll go to incidents where we need more than one hose reel. So this gives us a second hose reel on this side of the appliance. Lots of other attachments that go with that in order to squirt water and draw water. We've also got the capability to produce foam and use foam as a firefighting medium. And as we showed you earlier, we have 70mm hose on this side of the fire engine. We've got a smaller lay flat hose, which is 52mm. So if we perhaps don't need quite so much water, this gives us an option to deliver water, again, over a longer distance, but in a smaller volume. Moving along then. The two yellow bags there contain what we call liquid limited life gas tight suits. So these are those big space suits that you see firefighters wearing, and they're for dealing with particularly hazardous incidents where there might be a particularly toxic gas or an acidic environment that is not ideal in fire kit. So we would upgrade our personal protective equipment to these gas tight suits, and we'll show you one of those a bit later on. Above the gas tight suits is a whole tray there of stability equipment that we use for road traffic collisions. And above that, again, when we go to deal with hazardous incidents, we've got a bag of equipment here, and this is called our initial decontamination bag. So this contains lots of equipment that allow us to deal with hazardous incidents and bring them hopefully to a safe conclusion. The metal box here, just believe it or not, contains sawdust. So whilst this might look like hamster bedding, this is sawdust that we can use to protect the environment. So we go to crashes where there may be oil or fuel on the road, and this sawdust here just allows us to soak up that oil and fuel so it doesn't get into the water course or cause too much damage. Moving forward then, this locker here is what we call our road traffic collision locker. So all the kit and equipment in here is primarily aimed at allowing us to deal with road traffic collisions. We talked about it all being about safety. So at night time, we've got these lights, there's a whole stack of them there, that allow us to mark up the scene so that traffic and other drivers can see if we're working in a particular location and allow us to mark out a safe area for the crews to work in. The equipment on the tray above there, so for those of you that have seen Fireman Sam, you'll understand and be very familiar with the jaws of life. So we've got the jaws of life and what looks like a huge pair of scissors, which is essentially what they are, but this will allow us to cut through big chunks of metal and steel. So that allows us to basically take a car apart just by cutting through it. We have rams available as well, which allow us to reform a vehicle. So again, in the event of a road traffic collision, we can reform the vehicle and assist getting the driver out. Further equipment in the locker here then is road traffic collision equipment, blocks and stability equipment. We've got saws, traffic cones, even simple stuff like socket sets and hand tools that we can use to remove parts of a vehicle. There's a toolbox there, again, full of a whole variety of different tools. Simple things like screwdrivers, saws, Stanley knives, tape measures, bolster chisels, hammers, you name it. Whatever you've seen in the shed in your dad's toolbox, we've got it in our toolbox on the fire engine. Arguably one of the most important bits of equipment is the kettle here. So believe it or not, this is how we boil our water, and this allows us to ensure that the crews are hydrated, so we can make ourselves a nice cup of tea or coffee, because some incidents we go to, we're there for a very, very long time. Moving forward, this is the other side of the crew cab. Again, this is where the firefighters sit in the rear of the vehicle. This takes 3 or 4 firefighters, depending how many we've got on duty on the day. Lots of other equipment in here. The green bag in particular is what we call our trauma care bag. So that's a huge first aid kit with lots of equipment in there so that we can provide initial first aid to somebody who's injured on the side, or wherever, on the side of the road, or wherever that may be. A further breathing apparatus set. Again, this allows the firefighters to don that equipment on the way to an incident, so to reduce the amount of time taken before we're deployable. The final seating location on the fire engine then is the front seat here, and this is where the officer in charge sits. Here we've got a little computer screen. Arguably one of the most important bits is the mapping. So this contains all the incident information in the map. It shows us where we're going to, where we are, and if there's relevant information about the incident we're going to, we can draw that information from this mapping system here. So this is where the officer in charge sits. So that concludes our tour of the fire engine.
When that goes out, come back in.
The other thing the fire service do is get involved in initiatives in the community like Salamander, where they deliver training like things like fire cadets and all the rest of it. We've also got a fire bike team, and here we've got Rob and Gareth, who've just come back from a day's training. So as well as delivering fire safety advice, the fire service are also keen to get involved in delivering proactive road safety advice. And you can see by the slogan on the side of the fire engine here that this is one of our key efforts in line with government legislation. The purpose of the fire bike team is that they go out and engage with motorcyclists, and Rob and Gareth have both just returned from a intervention today where they've been delivering road safety advice. So Rob, talk me through what you've been doing today.
Yeah, so we've just been out and delivered the Biker Down package, which is a free initiative which we deliver, giving advice on subjects such as scene safety at road traffic collisions involving motorcyclists, basic life support, and the science of being seen.
Thank you. You'll see the two motorcycles that we've got here. This one was delivered by, donated to us by the Freewheelers EVS, which are the blood bikes. The second bike, the Triumph Daytona, that was kindly donated to us by AJN Steel Stock. Without this kind of community support, we simply wouldn't be able to deliver the packages that we do. A really great way of the fire service being involved in the community, because we're passionate about changing and saving lives.